Good morning, Torbay. Welcome to the February edition of Breakfast Bites, and we've got a great event for you today. We have our apprenticeship special because we are in National Apprenticeship Week 2021. This time last year we were having breakfast at Horizons, where the college students had our apprentices had not only booked the event, they cooked it. They served it, they presented at it, and it was all led by our wonderful Emily Tucker, our apprenticeship and business development, head of business development at employer engagement, isn't it, Em, at South Devon College? Sorry, I get my words mixed up.
No problem.
Always. And we're only 1 minute in, so, but I'm loving your background. Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Steve. So yeah, courtesy
why
of
couldn't
Bonnie.
I get one of those?
Yeah, we couldn't make it happen last night, could we?
Yeah. And we're going to get a big one of a rocking horse for Jim. And I don't know what we'll have for Caroline. Caroline, I think we'll have to think of something for you next time. A giant stethoscope or something. But welcome everybody. And of course, Jim in the newsroom there with the rocking horse. We'll be coming to him in a moment. But I'm very pleased to welcome Caroline Diamond, our Director of Public Health for Torbay, who's going to give us a brief COVID update in a moment. The Business Forum, for those that haven't been on before or met me before, I'm Steve Reynolds. I'm chair of the Torbay Business Forum. And what we do is we bring businesses together. We share information, we collaborate, and all with the view of helping to grow our local economy and our wonderful, naturally inspiring Torbay. So before I do that, Emily, what have you got lined up for us? Who have you got on the list?
So we've got a great panel today, Steve. We've got the famous Sharon Robbie, MBE.
Oh, yeah.
So really excited to have Sharon as always. We've got Alison Thompson from Princess Yachts. We've got Victoria Gage from the Southwest Careers Hub. And we've got obviously our lovely Jim and his apprentice Tamla.
Excellent.
And obviously we've got Caroline here.
Oh, Caroline, and we'll come to Caroline in just a sec. And Jim, just a couple of words from the newsroom. Anything exciting happening?
Yeah, just to give you a heads up that hopefully working on a quite an exciting campaign, which links to the apprenticeship thing really, because it's about building a better future. So that's all I'll say, Steve. But just to mention the words £250 million, that might whet some appetites maybe.
So you basically write down 7 noughts and put 25 in front of it, and that's what's happening.
I ain't got a clue what it means, but yes, it's £250 million. Yeah, but it's lots of numbers coming up our way. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Thanks.
Excellent. Well, we really look forward to hearing more about that and in the weeks to come. So, Caroline, thank you very much for coming back. Your third appearance on Breakfast Bites. It must be good because people don't normally come back twice. so it's really great to see you. We all know we're still in lockdown 3, and there's all sorts of news and press about what's going to be happening, what will happen, when it will happen, and so forth. But all I know is that my wife says to me, we've got 2 choices. Should we not go out or should we stay in? And I'm never quite sure which one we're going to go for. All I know that at the moment, date night is Friday, 8 o'clock in the supermarket when it's quieter. and that's just been too long. So can you give us any light on the horizon, please?
Yes, no, of course. Well, thank you as ever for the opportunity of just coming to speak to everybody today. I think when it comes to COVID, we're all in it together, and it's a sort of team of teams approach. And I certainly consider the business community as part of that team. So what I wanted to do was a little bit about where we're at with COVID and a little bit about a new opportunity that we can all take up to help us stop the spread. If that's okay, and I'm quite happy to take any questions. So in Torbay, we're not going up anymore, but we're kind of not going down very fast either. And in a way, we're bucking the trend against the other areas. We're small numbers, so it's not anything to particularly worry about, but it is something for us all to think about. And the rates this week are just under 150 per 100,000. We had about 200 cases last week. So that is lower, but as I say, it's not coming down fast enough really for me. Now, a lot of those are in the 20 to 40, or the next one's the 40 to 60 age group. So, and that's over sort of 200 per 100,000 in those age groups. So my message is that's mainly people probably who are working age. And we do know that a lot of businesses have got, you know, cases popping up in businesses. So it's a message out to businesses in particular, really, this morning, if that's okay. And actually, Steve, you started with that message about staying at home, and that's the first message. So really think about whether your employees do need to come into the office, you know, because it is those people who are coming in who are getting COVID. Particularly problematic at the moment is the new variant. You know, we know the UK variant is pretty much everywhere, and it's more transmissible, it's easier to spread. So it makes that message about staying at home and not coming in if you absolutely need to really important. Then, of course, if it is absolutely essential you go into work, it makes the sort of COVID secure stuff around space in particular, but also hands and mask, even more important, because it will be easier to catch this variant. And then the third point is, if you're symptomatic or one of your employees is symptomatic, it's really important to encourage them to isolate at home, because otherwise they'll come in, it's more easily transmissible, spread it around the workplace, and then it'll be a problem for the business as well as seeing those cases rise up. So I think, for me, this is about COVID spread, but actually it's also about business continuity and businesses' ability to stay open and vibrant if they have outbreaks. You know, we've seen that if it gets into somewhere, it spreads quite rapidly. Yeah. So that's a kind of message from me. There's also a new tool in the toolbox around this, and it's called asymptomatic testing. Because we know that 1 in 3 people don't have any symptoms, so you can pass it on not knowing you've even got COVID, not knowing, you know, if you don't do the socially distancing that you're passing on, and that's a concern. So we now have this test. It's called a lateral flow device, different from the one that you get in the mobile units, a bit like a pregnancy test. You get the result in about 20 to 30 minutes. So it's quicker. But it's not as reliable. So it always needs to be backed up if it comes back positive as with a confirmatory test. And you do need a degree of supervision to read the test. It is a test to find. It's a test to find those people asymptomatic to stop outbreaks. It's not a test to enable people to not socially distance and to carry on with life as normal. And that's a really, really important message. And it isn't for people who are symptomatic. It's So I'm very aware of time, but we are rolling this out. There's a lot of national programs. We're beginning to roll this out in some venues in across Torbay over three sort of phases over the next sort of 6 weeks. But I really wanted just to put it out there because we particularly want it to go into those parts of the business community where people can't work from home, where they might be working with vulnerable people, or where social distancing is a bit more of a challenge. So I suppose I'm saying, you know, could you get in touch if you think that you're one of those businesses? We're looking for some people to pilot and learn lessons. We're not going to rush at this. We're going to do it in a sensible way in partnership with businesses because we want it to work for you. But if you're interested, maybe Emily, I could put a contact through the network afterwards. So that was that on asymptomatic testing. One final thing, Steve, we would love to come back and talk about mental health because I know that's come up before in these forums. So slot us into a future agenda for that as well. So that's certainly it from me. I think I've just about done, maybe slightly over 5 minutes.
You've done very well now. Well, I blathered on for a while anyway. That's why we have to cut you down. So, but no, we will be looking at a mental health special because we are aware as to how much this is affecting people in the community who haven't actually been physically touched by COVID. There's a huge raft of people who are just worrying and need some support. So yeah, I will take you up on that offer, please. We will contribute to that. So the asymptomatic testing is now available. Just can you give me an example, a pen picture of a typical business that you really need to speak to?
Well, say it's a business where, I mean, like for instance, we're talking to the waste people at the moment, the bin men, because they get into cabs, they can't socially distance in their cabs. So even though they work in bubbles, if one of them was asymptomatically carrying a case, it would go through the whole crew, and that would stop people delivering. So it might be something like that, where you can't socially distance, or you might be working with particularly vulnerable people. So obviously they need to be protected. Different models, we could bring it to you, you could help us deliver it, or people could come to a central site. But those are the kind of models we're trialing to see what would work best for businesses. So even if it's a conversation saying I might be interested but I'm not sure, we could go through possibilities. Yeah. But we're rolling it out slowly, not fast, because we want it to work well.
Otherwise you'll end up with a queue down the high street, and that would be counterproductive, won't it? Okay, so we can certainly get that message out, and there are 51 people on the call today. Welcome to you all. Currently looking at our sponsors slides, so thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Caroline for giving us the COVID update, and we're obviously there's another COVID Champions event coming up soon as well.
There is, yeah.
Making sure that people join in that and become advocates of the message, so that we can beat this virus together. So thank you, Caroline.
200. Yeah.
200 on the COVID Champions. That is fantastic.
Yeah. More welcome.
Yes. And of course, you are welcome to stay with us and be part of our apprenticeship week. But if you have other things to do, you're welcome to carry on. But thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Caroline, and goodbye for now.
Thanks, Caroline.
You heard it here, folks. Right. So, apprenticeship week. Last time I introduced our next speaker, Storm Pablo was raging around us. It wasn't, I won't say it wasn't the beast from the east, and far from it, but Storm Pablo was affecting our shores, and now we've got Storm Darcy. Well, all I can say is whenever Sharon joins us, she goes down a storm, and the energy that you bring to these events, Sharon, and I know you're smiling there because we have this little, but welcome. It is great, and I really am so proud to be introducing you today, because you are now Sharon Robbie, MBE. Tell me, how'd you get one of those?
Stephen, thank you so much. Always a fantastic introduction. Thank you so much to you and Emily and Jim for inviting me along again today. As always, yes, I am going to be a bit of a hurricane because there's lots to get through, and we haven't got very much time. So it's National Apprenticeship Week. We're building the future. That's the theme for today, or for this week's National Apprenticeship Week. As I said, I have got a huge amount of information. I'm going to whip through some of these slides, but towards the end, I do list a whole range of support. I signpost to a whole range of support for businesses, and I know that Emily is going to share these slides with the delegates post-event. So, and I know the event is also being recorded, so that's something you can go back and watch at a later date, because I know you haven't. Nobody's got anything to do at the moment. The other thing to say is, Stephen, I have my notes here. I do have authority. Emily has given me authority. So, you know, there'll be no Jackie Weaver, no Sharon Robbie, you have no authority, because for the next 20 minutes, I do have authority and I have read the terms. So is that okay? So could I have the first slide, please, Emily? So, as Steve so rightly said, I'm Sharon Robbie. I'm the Managing Director of the Devon and Cornwall Training Provider Network, and I represent some 50 training providers across Devon and Cornwall. And in fact, a little bit further afield now, we have a number of national providers on board. And we represent universities, FE colleges, and a range of independent training providers who all offer post-16 education, training and skills. And I'm sure that you delegates on the call either work within some of those organisations or you use them for your training and your skills. We also have a number of employer providers within our ranks, including Babcock and Serco, and that's really good for us to have such a breadth of offer across the two counties. As I said, we are very much connected to skills and training, and that's from entry level through to degree level. We represent the training providers at regional and national and local level, and I sit on the Heart of the Southwest Skills Advisory Panel and a whole host of other special interest groups and boards to make sure that skills and training are very much at the forefront of what is happening here in our county, especially as we try to develop, grow and obviously recover from the current pandemic. And in fact, in the last 8 months, I have joined an additional 11 COVID recovery planning groups that are here operating across the Southwest. Obviously, the pandemic is playing a huge role in our lives. It's affected in everything that we do, and we're very much concerned with how that's going to pan out. The other thing that my network is very much engaged with is our employers. Our employers are absolutely key in order to encourage apprenticeships, in order to put on their apprenticeship programs, and we do an awful lot of work with employers to support employers access the funding and the right skills and training that they need in order for them to develop and grow and to improve productivity and to be competitive. Next slide, please, Emily. So the first thing to say is the pandemic has had a major impact, as I said, on our lives, our working lives, our social lives, what social lives. And the first thing to say is the training providers here in the Southwest have been absolutely phenomenal in being able to move quickly, being able to support learners, being able to support their staff and obviously their employers. The majority of colleges and training centres are closed. They're only open for those vulnerable individuals and children or individuals of key workers. So the training providers had to move their offer online, and they had to do that really quickly. And I know that South Devon College did a fantastic job in doing so, so that all that teaching and learning was available online. So there is a remote offer so that our learners, our students, our employers can still access the training and skills that they need. That in itself, though, has brought up some other challenges, and I'll talk about them in just a moment. With regards to the pandemic and the closure of centres and colleges, that's obviously had an impact on examinations and on endpoint assessments for apprenticeships, and it's been quite interesting, the flexibilities that have been introduced by the government to allow some of the apprentices to continue. I know that we're facing some challenges at the moment with our functional skills exams and some of the assessments because we can't get into businesses to assess apprentices, but I know that the colleges and the independent providers are working really hard with employers to try to support them. We've got furlough looming, the end of furlough looming, and with that, we are really concerned about the numbers of redundant apprentices that we may well start to see here in the Southwest. To date, we actually haven't seen that big a drop-off, and as I say, our training providers have worked really hard to engage with employers and to keep people on programme. But we do feel that with the end of the furlough scheme that we may well see an increase in the numbers of redundancies, especially with those apprentices. The government set up late last year something that's known as RESA, which is the Redundancy Support Service for Apprenticeships. There's a link here in the slides, and at the end of the slides, there's another link. This service is a free to use service. It can be used by individuals, it can be used by employers, and it can be used by employers in two ways. If you're having to make the very difficult decision to lay off an apprentice, you can actually approach RESA and they will look to try and find another placement for that apprentice. And similarly, if you're an employer and you're looking to take on an apprentice, you can register as saying that you are available to take on an apprentice who is at risk of being made redundant. So please do, if you can offer a placement to somebody who is looking to be made redundant, please use the RESA support service. With the move online, that's thrown up a real challenge because we assume that everybody has access to the internet, that everybody has access to a camera, that they all know how to use Zoom or they all know how to use Teams, but actually that's not the case. And we're seeing real digital poverty, especially here in the Southwest. I'm currently working on a programme whereby we can support learners, who, especially apprentices, who do not have access to a device. That is a laptop or a tablet in order for them to continue their learning. And we have already a list of 300 learners across Devon who do not have access to a device. So if you're a business listening in today and you have some equipment, so I need a laptop or a tablet which has got a power cable and not a cracked screen, and you would like to donate that to this scheme, please do get in touch with me afterwards. We'll make sure that they're wiped, that they're fit for purpose, that they're internet enabled, and then we can actually distribute them through our training provider network to those most at need. And it's really important that we are able to keep people connected. Caroline mentioned mental health just a moment ago, and that is absolutely key as well. It's really important that we keep our young people, that we keep our community connected, and some of those people are actually at this moment very much disconnected and isolated. So anything you can do to help would be very much appreciated. The other response to COVID from central government has been a range of employer incentives and also a raft of new programmes that have been introduced. Emily, if you could go to the next slide, please. So I'm going to take you back to the summer when we were allowed out and we could sit on the beach or we could sit in the pub with a gin and tonic, and our Chancellor produced the Plan for Jobs, and that was a part of the summer statement. And the Plan for Jobs introduced a whole raft of new initiatives. And I don't even think that we knew where we were going to be now when we look back at last year. So he introduced a whole range of initiatives and incentives, and he put skills front and centre, and he put skills front and centre as part of our recovery. He introduced the Kickstart scheme, he introduced traineeships, he added additional incentives to apprenticeships, and he talked about T-levels. And I'm going to talk about some of them, and I'll whip through them very quickly. But as I said, if anybody wants any other information, please do come to me or to Emily, because we are here to support you. Because it is a little bit of a minefield, Steve. You know, there are so many things out there. Employers are thinking, do I take a Kickstarter or do I take an apprentice? What's the difference? Yeah. So, you know, we are here to support you, and we do understand that it is a little bit of an interesting time. The thing to say, I'll talk about Kickstart and traineeships and apprenticeships in a moment, but the T-levels, that's very much on the radar, and I know that Emily and her team will be very much going out to employers and trying to seek placements, and this is around part of a new programme that will technical qualifications that is equivalent to A-levels that has already started a rollout and is only going to increase more. Could I have the next slide, please? So coming up to date, in January, we have the Skills for Jobs, the FE White Paper, another government missive that was delivered, dropped on our doormats, and we hurriedly had to read and see what that actually meant for us. Well, the FE White Paper really, again, consolidates the very real need to close skills gaps, to get people trained, to allow people to upskill, and to actually support people moving from one particular sector into another, that redeployment. And we know that several of our sectors have been absolutely decimated by the pandemic, but we've also seen areas of growth, especially in digital, health and social care, as you would expect, but also in green jobs, and a certain amount in manufacturing, and certainly in construction, believe it or not. So we need to look at how can we support people to go into those sectors where there are opportunities, where there are jobs, and especially in terms of apprenticeships. And I've done a little bit this morning looking at how many apprenticeship vacancies are actually available from where some of you are sat in Torquay. And actually, within 15 miles, there's 39 apprenticeship vacancies available on the Find an Apprenticeship site. And I had a look at the type of companies that were looking for skills, for looking for young people. And we can see that a lot around digital, IT, but accountancy, dental nursing, and as I say, facilities management and logistics. So some really great companies, Bishop Fleming, BT, all looking for apprentices. So, and Kia is another one, absolutely fantastic, and civil engineering at degree level. So there are opportunities out there. However, you need to look for them. So looking at the FE White Paper, what does it actually mean? Well, Boris Johnson talked about a lifetime guarantee and a guarantee for any individual in England who does not have a level 3 qualification to gain one. And from April, you'd be able to do that. So that's the lifetime guarantee. It's a level 3 adult offer. So if you have people working within your organisations who don't have a current level 3, they'll be able to look to gain a level 3 qualification. However, there is an approved list of qualifications, and the government are very keen to push those qualifications towards the more STEM, technical, higher paid jobs, but something to look out for. The other thing that the FE white paper did was talk about apprenticeships, and they're really keen to gain more starts from more employers. They're really keen to ensure that apprenticeships are seen as a valid route, an alternative route into employment. They make sense. They really do make sense. And the other thing to point out is traineeships, and I'll talk about them in a moment. So traineeships are very much on the government's agenda, and if you don't know about traineeships, I'll talk about them and explain how they can actually make a real difference to your business. I talked about T-levels a moment ago, and obviously Kickstart and employer engagement. But what I'd like to do is go to the next slide, please, Emily, and look at Kickstart. So the Kickstart programme introduced in August last year, it's available to those aged 16 to 24, and there is no cost to you as an employer. So you could take a Kickstarter, and that gives them a real opportunity to gain some work placement opportunity and experience. You gain £1,500 for taking that young person, and that £1,500 could be used for a variety of things. Onboarding, uniform, could be a laptop, could actually go towards driving lessons if the Kickstarter needs to be able to drive and you need them to drive a delivery van, etc. So 100% of the Kickstarter's wages are subsidised by the government to the national minimum wage, and that gives you 25 hours a week with that Kickstarter. Now you can actually employ them for longer, but that contract exists outside of the Kickstart, so you would have to negotiate with that separately. So if you have a vacancy and you would like to try before you buy, although I don't particularly like that term, but if you'd like to try before you buy, you could take a Kickstarter and then you could progress them onto an apprenticeship. So you could take a Kickstarter, you could get your £1,500, you could see how that person, how that individual fits within your organisation, and then you could progress them onto an apprenticeship, and I'll talk about the apprenticeship incentives in just a moment. You can go direct to the DWP now. You don't have to use a gateway organisation. However, Devon and Plymouth Chamber have got a very robust system, as has South Devon College, with regards to the gateway organisation. They'll take all the pain away with regards to the paperwork of the Kickstart for you. So if you're interested in Kickstart, please do get in touch with Emily or get in touch with myself, and we can walk you through the process and explain what you need to do as an employer. I'd like to talk about traineeships. Again, there is no cost to the employer here. And again, traineeships have been around a long time, but many employers haven't actually used traineeships. Again, the traineeship is an opportunity. The trainee is not paid. You do not have to pay any wages to them. However, we like to think that an employer would pay their travel costs and perhaps their lunch costs. And for each trainee you take on, you will receive £1,000. If you're a national employer, okay, you can take on up to 10. So you get £1,000 for each trainee that you take on, up to a maximum of 10. But if you're a national employer, you can actually take on 10 in each region in England, which is a maximum of 9. So I think the traineeships are something whereby we are seeing traineeships as a fantastic opportunity for those young people who have been sat at home since last summer, who are coming up to this summer, and they've not actually been able to take their exams, so they've been given a central assessed grade. Their plans have been put on hold, but this gives them a real opportunity to go into the workplace and to try a particular job role. It also gives you as an employer an opportunity to see how an individual operates within your business, and whether then you could progress them onto an apprenticeship, because from a traineeship, the ideal progression route is to an apprenticeship. The other thing to say about traineeships is that the ceiling with regards to the prior learning or the prior accredited learning has been removed. So we can actually offer traineeships to those with level 3 qualifications. That's A-level students. So that's a real opportunity, and lots of young people are sat at home. They weren't able to go off to university, or they decided to postpone going to university. And now they're thinking, gosh, what should I do? Traineeship is a fantastic way. And it's, as I say, no cost to you as an employer. The minimum for a traineeship is 6 weeks, maximum is 12 months. And as I say, they have to do a minimum of 70 hours work experience during that time. 16 to 24-year-olds. And as I say, an absolutely fantastic opportunity for you to take on a trainee, see what they're like, and then progress them onto an apprenticeship. The other thing I want to mention is the apprenticeship service. And at the end of this presentation, there is a group of slides and links to YouTube videos to support you. With regards to apprenticeship services, if you're not a levy payer, you're an SME or a micro SME, you need to register with the digital apprenticeship service so that you can access apprenticeship funding and the incentives that are attached to those apprentices. So it's really important that you register on that national digital apprenticeship service. And again, the other thing to point out with that is that you can only have a cap of 10. Each employer has a cap of 10 with regard to that apprenticeship reserve. Traineeships also, as I say, attract an incentive of £1,000, and there is a separate traineeship SME portal which you will need to register on in order to access that funding. But Emily and myself can both support you and help you with that. The incentives that were added by the Chancellor last summer are due to end in March of this year. We've been lobbying, Devon and Cornwall Training Provider Network, we've been lobbying hard to have those extended through to August time, as I know people are asking for the furlough scheme to be extended. We need those incentives to be extended so that employers such as yourself feel confident in taking on a young person, either as a trainee or as an apprentice. Can I have the next slide, please? This slide shows you a whole range of, when it comes, this slide is quite hard to see on the screen. I'm really sorry.
That's an eyesight
as big as I can.
that is.
But there's a lot of information on it. This slide is your Bible. It talks about apprenticeships, kickstart, traineeships, and the industry placements D-levels. It shows you what the employer costs are, the incentives, what training, the duration. It's got everything on there. And actually, when we send these slides around, you can blow it up so you can see it better. But this is a really, really good document, a really good slide for employers to have access to because it gives you all the information in one. Can I have the next slide, please? So it's National Apprenticeship Week, and one of the things to say is you can still take on an apprentice. We're in the pandemic, yes, but our training providers are still working hard for you. I know Emily and her team are on hand to support, and as I say, you can still take on an apprentice. And they absolutely do give you a real added value to your business. With regards to apprenticeships at the moment, the Southwest at the moment, we've actually retained our position as contributing 11% of national apprenticeships. And Devon and Cornwall, we contribute more than 1 in 3 starts nationally. We're doing well, we're holding up well. And as I say, you know, there are apprenticeship opportunities out there. There are businesses that are taking on apprentices because they absolutely recognise how they can fill a skills gap, how they can support workforce development, and they can improve productivity. And I know that Alison from Princess Yachts is speaking after me, and she absolutely will endorse everything that I've said because Princess Yachts have got the most amazing apprenticeship programme which supports their future growth and development. There is no upper age limit to an apprentice, and you can apprenticise an existing member of staff. So it doesn't have to be a new start, but for some of those incentives, they have to be new hires. Just remember that. So that funding and incentives that are available, if you go to the next slide, Emily, sets out very clearly with regards to apprenticeships. So if you take on an apprentice aged 16 to 24, you can actually access £3,000 in incentives. If they're aged 25 plus, £1,500. And that's available, as I said, to the 31st of March. However, we do expect it to be extended. And there is, again, government funding to support SMEs with paying, the government will pay 95% of the training costs for your apprentices. The extra £1,000 has actually always been there. So that doesn't go, but it's the top up that they've put. So the payments that you can see there are in addition to the wider funding that is available to employers to take on onto an apprentice and onto specific groups. Can I have the next slide, please? So I just wanted to show you, quickly go through the traineeships. As I say, it's a real government focus at the moment. They see them as a viable alternative to apprenticeships at this moment in time. They're aimed at 16 to 24-year-olds, and there is an employer incentive of £1,000, as I said. I talked about the minimum duration of 6 weeks, a maximum 1 year. And the key element is a 70 hours work placement. And there's 3 core elements of traineeship. It's employability skills, English and maths, and work experience. It very much is a work-placed option, and it's something that I think employers would find of real use. It's an extra pair of hands, and as I say, it gives you a real opportunity to trial somebody before moving them on to an apprenticeship. Can I have the next slide, please? So there is support for you. There's lots of support, and there's so much information out there. Go and see Emily and her team at South Devon College. Get in contact with me, or visit the National Apprenticeship Service, and the link is in the slides there. They will help you. Next slide, please. These are all the YouTube videos, all the links, all the slides. So if you want to apply for an incentive payment for hiring a new apprentice, this is where you go. You can go and watch the video. To be honest, I'm sure Emily and her team will help you, and you don't need to go to the YouTube video, but I just want to share these with you. How do you add an apprentice to an account? How do you reserve apprenticeship funding? It's all here for you, and there is also a helpline as well. Really important that you take a look at this, because there is support out there for you. Make use of it. There is money out there for you to use as an employer, and we really do need to offer opportunities to our young people. Our young people have had so much opportunity removed from them. So anybody who can offer an apprenticeship or a traineeship or a kickstart placement, please do so, because you're actually giving somebody a real chance. And we know that we've got lots and lots of young people sat at home who actually think that they have no chance at all. And so for me, my plea to you is have a look, see how you can actually get involved, how you can support. Next slide, please. I think there'll be questions at the end anyway. My details are here on the slide. Please do feel free to get in contact with me. I rattle through that at speed, Stephen, and there's a huge amount of information, but the slides, as I say, are being made available so people can go back and revisit them, and then if they need further information, they can get in contact with myself or Emily. Thank you.
Oh, fantastic. Beautifully delivered, as always, Sharon, and there's a huge amount of information. One comment has been made. One of our viewers couldn't actually see the slides, but just to say, everybody, this will be available on our YouTube channel via the website of torbaybusinessforum.com later on, so you will be able to watch on catch up. It'll all be there, and hopefully can catch up. So apologies to Tony Medawa for not being able to see those. David Rose made a comment that Tormahan, the Rotary Club of Tormahan in Torquay, they've agreed to obtain used computers for schools. So they're looking for a filter to pass those on. So thank you, Sharon, for highlighting. And he said maybe Jim can help him with that program as well, or help us with that program. And yeah. Becky Davies at the TDA has said, well done, Sharon. Just to add, Kickstart scheme, TDA are also a gateway employer working closely with Emily at South Devon College. Inquiries at tda.uk.net. So thank you very much, and really, seriously, big congratulations on your MBE. You got that because of all of your efforts and your drive and helping to promote the apprenticeship program in the Southwest and Devon and Cornwall. So well deserved, and thank you. It's a real honour to have you with us. So
thank you, Steve.
And big mention again to our sponsors today. South Devon College, of course, always support this week, and Andrew Price & Co, Chartered Accountant. So thank you, Andrew. I know you are always looking at not just counting the numbers, but helping the businesses develop. So great to have you as a partner today. So thank you. So on our next guest, we talked about storms earlier. I'm sure this guest would rather have calm waters for the product, I know. So hopefully we can get Alison on. Yes, Alison, is always a relief when we can get someone back. So thank you for joining us. You're the Learning and Development Manager at Head of Learning and Development at Princess Yachts.
I am. Good morning.
Yeah, and I've always driven past them down at Stonehouse in Plymouth and just normally drool and dribble, but one day. So you're talking about apprenticeship journey and successes, and I know that somebody was talking to me recently and said that they had been involved with Princess Yachts and said it was almost like a military operation. So how do you get over the bureaucracy and actually making sure people can join you and train and learn, rather than apprenticeships being maybe a bit of a mystery?
So it's been a year of high and lows, Steve, but we've also had some fantastic success over the last 12 months. And so what I wanted to be able to do this morning was just to share some of that journey with you.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Next slide, please, Emily. So good morning, everyone. It's really nice to see you virtually today. Normally we're used to having a much wider forum so that we can entertain, but we'll try and get some of the enthusiasm across to you this morning as I share the journey with you. I'm sure it will come as no surprise when I say it's been both a busy and a challenging year. In March last year, along with the majority of the UK, approximately 80% of our business was furloughed, including our apprentices and the L&D team. That obviously brought lots of different challenges, not least to make sure that our apprentices were well looked after and continued their learning. I am really pleased to say that South Devon College really supported us through that period. There is no break in learning and everybody continues to be a success, so that's great. Just to give you a little bit of an overview of Princess Yachts, we were established in 1965 in Plymouth, and we require around about 80% of our boats are handcrafted by our craftsmen, which is really important to make sure that we keep the skills within that business. And we build boats from 40 foot up to 100. Sorry, the slide's really small and I've gone a bit blank, but we start from 40 foot upwards. All of them are custom built, so we don't have a distributor line where we're just turning our boats out. Every single one has a customer name attached to it, which in the old days meant that that was our unique selling point, and our customers always wanted to come in to see at what stage their boat was at. Okay, next slide, please.
And then Jim's got an order in for 130 footer.
Perfect. So we have over 3,000 people working for us. At any one time, we can have up to 3 generations with our apprenticeships. And this year, we actually recruited the grandson of David King, who was one of our founders in 1965. We work across 6 different sites in Plymouth, and depending on the site, it depends on the size of the boat or what's happening in that construction of that boat. Okay, next slide, please. So we have one vision, and that's there on the screen for you, and that's really to widen apprenticeship opportunities, not just for new apprentices, but also existing staff as well. And that's been an education piece for an awful lot of people. And certainly as L&D budgets get challenged and more, it's really important to utilise that levy where we possibly can. So it's been an education piece. Not everybody wants to do an apprenticeship for a whole host of reasons. But sometimes if that's the only way that we're offering, they can do it, then it actually ups our numbers at the same time. Okay, next slide, please. So these are the apprenticeships that we offer. So our craft apprenticeships are up to 4 years long and they come out as a level 3. You'll see that we offer boat building, marine engineering. Marine engineering is both electrical and mechanical. We do fabricating, welding, composites we launched in September last year. We also offer IT, business administration, finance, marketing, leadership, and also up to level 7. So we have a progression route there for them. In terms of progression, that's really important when they leave, when they successfully complete their level 3. We have dedicated leadership pathways. And in fact, our manufacturing engineering director in 2019 was appointed into that role, and he started as an apprentice with us in 1997. So that's a great success story for us, and probably around about 10% of our ex-apprentices are now managers and leaders within the business. So we're really keen on making sure that we continue to home grow that talent and to retain the key skills within our business. Okay, we also have a dedicated management development programme. We call that Crafted in Plymouth, which actually matches our strapline, and that's to make sure that anybody going into a first line management role learns the Princess way and they really live, breathe and support our brand values to make sure that everybody, irrespective of where they are managed and supported in exactly the same way. Okay, next slide, please. So when I joined the business, in fact, that was 3 years ago next month, I don't know where the time has gone. One of the things that we did while our apprenticeship scheme was having various degrees of success, our business had obviously evolved with up to 6 brand new designs every year. It's really important to make sure that we retain those key craft skills and our workforce continues to develop. So I ran a series of focus groups across our current apprenticeship scheme, and there was a varying degrees of success there, which made me look out into the wider business to see what we should be doing. And that made the decision to move to South Devon College. One of the things that we have done, and you'll see from the photos there, is set up a dedicated learning academy. So we donated a V40 hull, and the first picture in the top left-hand side is that V40 hull being delivered. What you can't see was there was lots of oohs and ahs as it came through the gap, and I think there was about a 2 centimetre gap either side to get that boat in through that doorway. What we then did was we have actually replicated our Newport Street boat line within that area. So our apprentices clock in and clock out. It's all the same posters and signage are around. And our first years get the opportunity to work on one of our boats right from day one because they spend the first year full time at college. What you can then see on the right hand side at the top is our V40 completely finished and enjoying the waves. And then below, some of our apprentices on our grand opening. So the very first slot is one of our apprentices, Jod, being interviewed by BBC Spotlight. And again, Callum in the second photo is also being interviewed. Callum was Engineering Apprentice of the Year last year. And then you'll see that we have our apprentices all lined up ready to take the shot in the other 2 pictures, along with our COO and also members of Hannah from the marine industry and from South Devon College there, which is great. Okay, next slide, please. So this is the current position with us. So you will see on the right-hand side that I have all of our apprentices lined up. And last year was our largest intake of our apprentices. So even though that we were furloughed, what we actually did was continued interviewing our apprentices throughout that furlough period. So some of the apprentices helped me interview, and we had 525 applications last year. So from that, some of the applications were fab, and so we decided to double our intake in September 2020 with 66 apprentices, which was the highest number that we'd taken. So now we have over 150 apprentices in the business. What was also really key for us last year was that for the first time ever, we had female applications against every single trade within the business. So we had 35 applicants, all of a really high standard, and that's a 98% increase over the previous year. That's now given us a true 75-25 gender split, which for us is fantastic. And I have a key strategic objective to get that 50-50 gender split over the next 2 years. I think it's a real possibility. And if we achieve that, that will revolutionise not just our business, but the wider marine industry. So really excited and very proud of that. We also launched our level 3 composite academy, as we've mentioned there. Some of the other things that we did, we introduced mental health first aiders for youth across the business. We have now around about 45, and we also do mental health for first aiders for adults as well as youth. So that worked really well. We appointed apprentice ambassadors, and they also help support. South Devon College continue to support us really, really well. And I can't stress enough how proud I am of that relationship. I actually feel that we have a true partnership, and we work together regularly to make sure that our apprenticeship is not just now fit for now, but actually ensuring our business is fit for the future, which is where we really want to be able to be. Okay, next slide, please, Emily. So how can apprenticeships regenerate your business post 16? So I'm sure that like us and like you, budgets are really challenged at this present time, certainly from an L&D point of view. So what we have been doing is a wider educational piece across the business to say, have you thought about either recruiting and using apprenticeship as an opportunity to bring somebody in and to home grow our talent, or to be able to offer existing development opportunities to our existing staff? And that uptake has really increased tenfold over the past 12 months. And we now have individuals working through procurement, SIPs, IT, HR, finance, and also in logistics and operations for the first time. And that's great for us, and we'll continue to work with recruitment and the wider business to make sure that we continue to do that. Okay, next slide, please. So one of the things that happened over the last 12 months is that we won a few awards. So actually in the space of 12 months, we won 12 awards in a variety of different guises. Now, while it's great for me to sit and blow the trumpet of Princess Yachts and all of the hard work, both from South Devon College and the L&D team, what that has done on a more positive note, it has widened the interest in Princess Yachts. And so that we now get a higher number of applicants. We have gone from 3 years ago being maybe the second choice apprenticeship provider or employer provider within the Southwest, and certainly within the Plymouth area, we've now become the first employer of choice. And that means our standard of applicants is much higher and people want to join us, which is fantastic. You'll see that we have some of the list of awards there. 7 apprenticeship awards during National Apprenticeship Week. I wonder whether we can beat that this week, or whether we're just going to have to say 2020 was our year. We were the regional finalists for the National Apprenticeship Awards. We won the Maritime UK STEM Award in Amsterdam. That was a fantastic event. And that was for our work working with Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3 school children over a 2-week period. We actually met 1,200 Key Stage 2 and Key Stage 3 children over 2 weeks. We introduced them to the maritime industry and how STEM related activities weaved into any future career. And what we do within Princess Yachts is take the wider view, because I do feel that when we get to 15, 16, an awful lot of people will have already had their career choices. And so by working with a younger age group, they will grow up with the art of the possible. And so we did stability tests with water where they got wet. We were getting them to do some engraving. We took some footage on one of our boats in the summer. So 120 pupils went sailing virtually, sat on the floor of the aquarium. And for some people, even though they grew up in Plymouth, that was the first time that they'd seen the sea. What we did after that 2-week period was we gave each of the 35 participating schools a flat packed boat. And our apprentice ambassadors went into those schools and helped construct those boats, helped design what they would finally look like, with the aim for all 35 boats to come back to the National Marine Aquarium, and for the schools to hire out 35 at a time to go sailing. Lovely COVID came along, which has slightly paused that initiative, but that's what we're planning on doing next year. And that was a great way of widening participation. So really proud of that UK STEM award. We're also recently been named in the top 100 apprenticeship employer rankings, and all of those awards that we've been winning actually helped us get within that ranking. And again, that's really important in raising our profile. However, the one award that we're most proud of happened on the 14th of August, when we, along with 43 other recipients, were awarded a Princess Royal Training Award for our apprenticeship scheme. Sorry, I'm just losing my voice. The awards were selected by Her Royal Highness, the Princess Royal, and the President of the City and Guilds Group. And it's all around recognising organisations whose training has delivered measurable business impact. We were commended by the judges for demonstrating an exceptional commitment to training and for positioning apprenticeships as a viable career choice despite facing unprecedented challenges of COVID-19. Assessment for the award was rigorous and was very different, taking place remotely via MS Teams. However, the assessors took the time to speak to some of our apprentices and to gain a better understanding of our collaborative partnership with South Devon College, who support us in the delivery of this programme. It's great to know on a personal level that we're setting the right standards, experience and support to our apprentices as they begin their career with us and ultimately the marine industry. If you think it's easy to be assessed via Teams for this type of award, think again, we were really grilled. And I think it took between 4 and 5 hours. That's how long the assessment took for us to actually be awarded that. We then had to wait for 3 months until May to find out that we'd been successful, but it was a real champagne cork popping moment when we got that. So, you know, while COVID has been very difficult and challenging for us, I think it's really important as a business to continue to celebrate the small wins or the larger successes, and certainly to celebrate the success of our apprentices who, despite all of the challenges, are continuing to work towards their career, continuing to want to be a success. And I, for one, commend every single one of them. Thank you.
Well, as a resound, yeah, can I have one of those, please?
You'd like the V40, would you? Absolutely.
The V40,
Or the
because
R35.
well, my history with Princess Yachts goes back to the 1970s when my parents took us on canal boat holiday. But it was exciting because it was on the Caledonian Canal in Scotland, where they had a fleet of Princess 32s. And
Wow.
you don't even make them that small anymore. Small? Yeah, that was our caravan train of, I don't know, these 20 on a flotilla across Loch Ness looking for the monster. It was great fun. So
Amazing.
but no, I love, and the gender balance, item is so near and present now, and there is definitely a drive, and it is great to see more women involved in the design stages and then right through to building and completion. Wonderful. A really a good drive, and that's lovely to hear about you with the apprenticeship ambassadors as well. It very much the hashtag build the future, and the fact that Princess Yachts is, I know you're in Plymouth, but you're on our doorstep working with South Devon College. There are some great jobs in our local area, which is admirable, and you're building on our maritime heritage. So thank you for coming along and presenting to us, Alison. So
thanks,
folks, I promised you a bumper event, an apprenticeship special. So we're now going to hand over to Emily, where you're going to do the second part of the event today. We're going to have a bumper edition. So who have you got lined up for us now?
Hi, Steve. Thanks for that. So it might be worth me just quickly mentioning and giving a plug to the Southwest Apprenticeship Ambassador Network. If we've got anyone out there, employers that want to take part and be perhaps an apprenticeship ambassador, again, please contact me so I can point you in the right direction of our Southwest Apprenticeship Ambassador Coordinator. She's always looking out for new recruits. So just a bit of a shout out there, Apprenticeship Ambassador Network. So now I'm going to pass over to our lovely Victoria Gage. Victoria is the Careers Hub Manager for the Heart of the Southwest LAP. And I'm just going to bring Victoria into shot. Victoria, welcome. Hopefully we can see, there you are. So Victoria is doing some absolutely amazing work with the Careers Hub, generating new opportunities for young people to link up with businesses and really sort of hear what businesses need and vice versa, really. So Victoria, I'm going to pass over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Firstly, thank you very much, Steve, Emily and Jim, for inviting me, particularly in such an important week as this in the careers calendar. As Emily has said, my name is Victoria Gage and I am the Heart of the Southwest Careers Hub lead. I'm going to just talk briefly about the Careers Hub itself, and then I'll go on and talk about why I'm here talking to you today. So in September, the Careers Hub secured additional funding that saw us expand from working with 60 schools and colleges across Devon, Somerset and Plymouth and Torbay to 157 secondary schools, colleges, FE, including special educational needs and pupil referral units. We are one of, if not the largest careers hubs in the country, and we're right here in the Southwest. So I'm here today because I want to talk to the business community of Torbay about how you can help us. The real reason, the real thing you can do, why I'm here, is because young people really need you more now than ever. I know Sharon's already talked to you about the context that we're working in at the moment, and I'm sure you understand why I'm saying it's more important than ever. The other really exciting thing at the moment, I think, is the stuff that's coming out through things like the FE, the Skills for Jobs white paper, and the real focus now on skills in young people. And anybody who's read that rather weighty document will see that the Careers and Enterprise Company and the role of the Careers Hub is very much within that document. So really exciting. Why do young people need employers? just think about this. Young people can't aspire to be what they can't see. By supporting the Heart of the Southwest Careers Hub, you can help schools and colleges ensure young people in education have access to meaningful employment opportunities, information and encounters. That way they have the information they need to make informed choices about their education and career pathways, so that when they're making those important choices within their educational setting, they can really understand what the world of work looks like and what the expectations of them are when they go into employment. Sorry, I've made myself some little prompt cards and now I've got carried away. Sorry. So how can you do this? Well, you can get involved with us. And why would you get involved? Because as an employer, you might want to contribute to the local economy. You might want to help improve outcomes for young people. You might want to help develop a local skills pipeline. You might want to raise your information about your sector, the opportunities within your organisation, and you might want to provide continuous professional development opportunities for your staff. Certainly that's a role that we find employers find particularly helpful when they're looking to develop people perhaps with some sort of strategic opportunity, but there aren't those opportunities within the organisation to develop that person. Working with us as an enterprise advisor, working strategically with school leaders, you can give people that opportunity. So what's our aspiration, or my aspiration really, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of people, is that careers education sits in the curriculum right alongside maths and English. That it's not a nice to have, but it's a statutory requirement, an entitlement for young people that will drive growth and drive economic growth, particularly through improved outcomes for everyone. So some of the themes that we look at are targeting, so making sure that no young person is left behind, reach, connecting businesses with education, sustainability, building long-term relationships between education and business. We've probably all been here a little bit before, where we've talked about how employers and schools should all work together and bring around this kind of careers education. There's been various models, but this one is all around sustainability. The real proof will be when the careers hubs aren't really needed, and that educationalists and employers just work naturally hand in hand. Those relationships are so sustainable. They're not based on one individual within an organisation or within a school driving that agenda. It's something embedded within both the organisation and the education setting. So quality, so why is quality important? Because we need innovative and meaningful encounters. Innovation is particularly important now. We're working on virtual work experience opportunities. We're running a virtual careers fair in April. We've run a successful virtual careers leader conference. We're running another one in May. And part of that will be providing careers leaders with CPD opportunities within that forum delivered by employers. I'll be really happy to talk to anybody a bit about how you might want to get involved in that. So how can you get involved? Become an enterprise advisor, support us with some of these virtual events that I've mentioned. But locally, we have vacancies for enterprise advisors in Torquay Academy, Mayfield, Coombe Pafford, Brunel Academy and the Burton Academy. All of those schools need a dedicated enterprise advisor from the world of work, from an employer organisation, to work with their senior leaders to help them embed a really meaningful careers programme for their young people. The other way you can get involved is support the Cornerstone Employer Group that I work with strategically. Currently, I work with Babcock International, Cosmic, Devon County Council, Gregory Distribution Limited, HPC, sorry, Hinkley Point C, the National Farmers Union, Santander, Somerset NHS Foundation Trust, University Hospitals Plymouth, Wessex Water and Yeo Valley. I haven't got a fabulous representative from Torbay currently within the Cornerstone Employer Group. So a bit of a shout out really, if you'd like to get involved at a strategic level and work with me and those other employers around driving improvements across the whole of the Heart of the Southwest area, looking at targeted intervention to drive up against the themes that I mentioned earlier, then that is an opportunity for a Torbay, but minimum of one Torbay employer to get involved. So I'm very conscious of time, and hopefully I've given you a little bit of a flavour about the role of the Careers Hub without going into too much. There's a lot of jargon within careers education, and I'm mindful of not to talk to anybody in acronyms. So I'm hoping that I've given you enough there to at least whet your appetite. We really do need your help. I can't stress that enough, and particularly within those 5 schools within Torbay area. So if you would like to find out more, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Emily's going to send around my contact details afterwards, and also an organisation chart and anything else, a pack about being an advisor. I can send you the links to our fantastic national recruitment campaign. You'll have seen some great stuff going on LinkedIn if you are already connected with me. I haven't got anything else really. I'm hoping that I've caught you up a little bit on time and that I've given enough information.
It's brilliant. Thanks so much, Victoria.
Yeah, it's great, Victoria. I mean, I've written down a couple of notes. Can't be what you can't see. I love that. And because it's very much the apprenticeship program has been having to fight a battle over the years to sort of shift some of the misconceptions about what it really is now. And the winning the hearts and minds, I think we've got to really get to the younger education sector as well. And so what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to make a princess yacht, or whatever it is, something that we can do, and showing them then the how, and with informed choices. I love all that. So we can definitely, we need to find a Torbay employer who's going to sign up to this mission. Okay, everybody watching.
Thank you very much.
You know somebody, right? We will find a Torbay employer. We will sort that. My mission.
I want ideally 6, so I can have 5 EAs and a cornerstone.
Well, you don't want much, do you?
I think we've got some great businesses in Torbay, Victoria, and I'm sure that your shout out today has been, has been really useful as well, because I'm sure they won't know or have heard about it. So this is a great opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for asking me.
Wonderful to see you. Thank you for joining us. And what I had hoped we would have today was a real live apprentice. Now, Emily was an apprentice, weren't you? So, and you liked it so much, you sort of bought the company type of thing, wasn't it?
I was, Steve. So I was a dental nurse apprentice many years ago, and then found myself in education and supporting apprenticeships significantly, and hugely passionate about it, as everybody who knows me knows that only too well.
And I know that 42 years ago, I put on my best first suit and went for the job interview with Barclays, and got it, subject to getting my A-levels. And I'm still waiting for my certificate to say I've passed the apprenticeship. But I'm still here. But talking about apprentices, I'm going to go over to Jim now, because I think he's still training. But you've got a guest for us today, haven't you, Jim?
We have, yeah. So we got with us Tamla Thornton. Hi, Tamla.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, Tamla.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
So Tamla is an apprentice with us at the Torbay Weekly, Steve, Emily and everybody. So Tamla joined us how many months ago, Tamla?
About 4 months ago.
Okay, that seems like a lifetime, no doubt, working with me and Chris Carr, doesn't it? I would have thought. And the course you're studying at the college is, tell a little bit about the actual college course you're doing.
Okay, yeah, so I am doing a junior content producer course. It's quite varied. I look at things like content production, photography, copywriting, things like that. And it works really well with the apprenticeship that I'm doing at the Torbay Weekly, because I'm able to both learn about the theoretical side and kind of how the industry works from an academic point of view, and then I can go to work and put that into practice. So the two things go really well hand in hand. Yeah, it's really good to have both sides of it.
So I think it's fair to say that you sort of hit the ground running with you at the Weekly, and you've done a little bit more than content producing, haven't you? I think you've taken over the Weekly, actually, what you do. So if you could just say a little bit about what you do working with us. It's not a normal working week, is it? And I'm sure if you do get bored, please let me know. But I'm sure you haven't got time to get bored with what you do. So again, you've done an array of things, unbelievable, in the first 4 months of joining us. What sort of stuff do you do?
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's really varied. I have a range of duties assisting both the editorial team and the commercial team. And it's jobs which include things like generating editorial copy, uploading and scheduling content. I assist with ad copy, and also there's some administration in there. I also work with the outlets to maintain distribution levels, plus a lot of ad hoc stuff, kind of as and when it pops up, and if Jim and Chris need me to do anything extra, it's just very varied. I think every day is completely different. Definitely every week is completely different. But it's really great because I'm both helping the business to grow, but also helping build the skills that I need to progress my career. And I think it's really important because working for a team like the Torbay Weekly, I get to see every single aspect of the business, which is really great to just get stuck in and go for it. So yeah, it's really great.
I think she underplays the role you do actually. So you'll actually place commercial ads, you'll get commercial ads, you'll book the ads, you'll sort out where the papers are delivered, and then you'll sort out any problems, issues with those liveries. Then you're sorting out our digital strategy with an expert at the moment, looking at how we can increase our website audience and doing all those sort of things. You actually schedule stories online for our editors throughout Devon, and you write a weekly column on music.
Yeah.
All in 4 days. So that's not bad.
Can I ask a question then, Tamla?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
What does Jim do?
I tell you what, in a previous life, Steve, I was the first editor to appoint apprentices in a former newspaper, and they were the best appointments I ever made. 2 young ladies called Hannah and Zoe, who ran the paper. It was, help Zoe, I need this on the website, and it's the same now with Tamla. They're more than apprentices. The likes of Tamla, they're actually valued employees, and they do a variety of things. And I know that without Tamla, we'd be blooming lost, actually. What's your future aspirations, Tamla?
So I've always loved writing, and I do have an academic background in both journalism and marketing, and kind of content generation is kind of the route that I've always thought I'd go down. I think definitely working in the media industry, that's a big one for me. And so having that opportunity in Torbay, I think what's great about apprenticeships is that I've still got a lot of the apprenticeship to go through, where I can really refine what I want to do and where I want to go. And like I said, having such a varied role, I'm able to experience a lot of the business and experience a lot of tasks and roles within the media industry and within the newspaper. So I kind of have, I have interests in the industry and interests in the roles that I'm doing currently, but I think I've still got a bit of time to work out where I want to go. Definitely, working for the Torbay Weekly, that's great, and I'd love to continue that and working with Arch, and I think that's definitely something that I've decided on, and just where my role takes me, I think we'll see with that one.
I'm sure we can sort something out in that way. I'm sure we can. I'm sure that you've got a really bright future. And Emily, so it just shows the link between apprenticeships and business and college that we have in Torbay and South Devon, and they do a brilliant job. I know we're struggling for time, so I'm going to bring it to close there just to say, you got a live example of how apprenticeships work in South Devon. Brilliant, Tamla. Thanks, Tamla.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Tamala. A real aspiration and inspiration to everybody.
It is, and so I love the thought of the varied role and flexibility as well. And you can hone on what you want to do later. You don't have to make a snap decision now. It's wonderful, and meanwhile you can hopefully earn some money while you're doing it and enjoy the path. So I think I've got one thing to say to you, Tamla. You're hired. So wow, we have had a bumper edition. Thank you so much. We've still got 50 people on the call, which is excellent. A great thank you to our sponsors today, South Devon College. Emily, you go through a lot in producing these events for us, so thank you so much. And I do still love your logos there. Thanks, Ronnie, in the background from Big Wave. But also Andrew Price Accountants, Chartered Accountants, so thank you so much for today. Our speakers, Sharon, Alison, Victoria and Tamla. Thank you, Jim, for bringing one of your hidden gems. That's fantastic. The team putting it together today, so thank you. Next week, the Torbay Business and Chambers Network will be meeting via Zoom at 4 o'clock on Tuesday the 16th. So you go onto the Paignton Chamber of Commerce website to register for that. But all businesses, anybody wanting to network in Torbay, please do come and join us. There was a lively debate on that, where we actually got Zoom rooms as opposed to a webinar delivery. Our next Breakfast Bites will be on Tuesday the 2nd of March. Where we will have Melindy Myers, the Southwest agent for the Bank of England, back. She was with us 10 months ago talking about the economy just as we went into the pandemic. She'll be now talking to us about the wider UK economy. We're post-Brexit. We're coming out of the pandemic. There's light on the horizon. So how will that affect the Southwest and its relevance to Torbay? And also, talking about something completely different. We're going to be talking to Brendan Prince, who I think has gone slightly mad because he is going to paddleboard around the UK, starting in Torquay and finishing in Torquay. He's called it the Long Paddle. He's doing it for charity. He's going to come to tell us all about it, because I think by the end of April he'll be you can't set sail, can you, Jim? What do? You set paddle forth.
That's right. If you can't touch the bottom, Steve, I'm not interested, I'm afraid, but best luck with break.
Oh, and Ronnie says, if you want a virtual background like Emily got, you can have one for 65 quid created for you. So I'll park that one. Well, Big Wave for sponsors, so anything like a gratuitous plug is always good in media, isn't it, Jim and Tamla? So I'm going to say thank you to everyone for staying with us today. The slides will be available, and also the replay will be available on our website. So thanks to Angela and Mike at IMS Marketing, who do all that part for us and the promotions. I'm going to say one final thing. Thank you. Take care, keep safe, and see you next time. So thank you very much. Cue the music. Wouldn't be The Apprentice without that, would it? Bring back our stars. Whoops.
Are you a British stat without life insurance? If you're born...
That didn't work, did it? Thank you very much, folks. Give him a wave goodbye.
Cheers, bye. Everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I was muted. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Seamless.